Welcome to The Explainer. We're about to go inside the minds of monsters, really digging into one of humanity's darkest, most fascinating subjects. So, what really creates a monster? That's the big, chilling question, right? We're going to use material from top true crime analysts to look past the horror and really try to understand the patterns behind these terrifying crimes.
Okay, here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to nail down what actually makes a serial killer. Then, we'll look at some of the most infamous faces of evil. After that, we'll see how this whole thing plays out around the world. And finally, we're going to turn the lens back on us and ask, why are we so fascinated by all this?
All right, let's start with the basics. What is a serial killer, really? You might be surprised. The official definition is super specific, and it's absolutely key to separating the Hollywood myths from the chilling reality.
Okay, so you see, the key things here are the pattern and the motive. This isn't a one-off crime of passion. No, it's the repetition, that cooling off period in between, and that really chilling part, psychological gratification. It means they often do it because they get something out of it. They enjoy it.
So you have to wonder, where does something like this even begin? Well, investigators often trace it all the way back to a childhood just filled with trauma. We're talking no love, no care, just abuse. And sometimes they find this really specific cluster of red flags called the McDonald Triad. You know, animal cruelty, setting fires, and bedwetting way past the normal age. These are seen as huge warning signs, signals of a deep, deep lack of empathy and a scary inability to control those violent urges. The path starts long before the first crime.
Okay, so we have the theory. Now let's see how it all plays out in the real world, with some of the most notorious cases you've ever heard of. These are the names that are basically shorthand for evil. And each one, well, they kind of represent a different terrifying type of killer. And first up, the kind of killer that completely shatters the idea that monsters look like monsters. Because some of them, they just look like you and me. And honestly, that's what makes them so terrifying. I mean, look at this. This perfectly sums up Bundy's whole twisted method. A well-spoken, handsome law student. He didn't scream danger. He looked like a guy who needed a hand. He'd put his arm in a fake cast, pretend to struggle with books, and ask for help. He literally weaponized people's kindness. He turned basic human trust into his deadliest tool. It's just insidious. Next, we're going to a very different kind of darkness, a case where the horror went way beyond the murder itself and to these incredibly disturbing rituals that happened after. Jeffrey Dahmer. On the outside, he was quiet, almost shy, but that hid this unimaginable world of horror. His motive? It was this deeply twisted desire for total control. He had this pathological fear of being abandoned, so in his mind, the only way to stop his victims from leaving was to consume them. He believed that through cannibalism, they would become part of him, forever. It's just mind-bendingly awful. And for our last archetype, this one is a real gut punch. It's a case where a symbol of childhood joy, something that's supposed to be fun and innocent, was twisted into a mask for absolute evil. Yeah, it's hard to think of anyone who hid in plain sight better than John Wayne Gacy. To his community, he was Pogo the Clown, a friendly guy, a local contractor who'd perform at kids' parties and charity events. It was the absolute perfect cover, and it allowed him to lure dozens of teenage boys and young men to his house, where he buried 29 of them right under the floorboards in his crawl space. Now, we hear a lot about American cases, and they tend to grab all the headlines. But it is so important to remember this is a truly global problem. You find killers with these same kinds of profiles in totally different cultures all over the world. And sometimes their methods reflect the societies they live in. And take a look at these cases from Japan. What's so fascinating and scary is how they show this collision of modern life with just brutal violence. You've got Takahiro Shiraishi, the Twitter killer, who literally used social media, preying on people's loneliness and suicidal thoughts to find his victims. It really shows you how technology and social isolation can become the new hunting grounds for predators. And then you go to the former Soviet Union. For more than a decade, one man, Andrei Chikatilo, used the massive, anonymous state railway system as his personal hunting ground.
He stalked the train lines, leaving a trail of more than 50 victims, and just this wave of absolute terror that spread across multiple republics for years.
See, this kind of darkness isn't confined to any one country or culture. So now, let's bring it closer to home and look at some infamous cases from Iran. These have left a deep scar on the public, and they really shine a light on a whole different set of social and cultural dynamics.
And what you see in these three cases is just this chilling range of motives. You have Saeed Hanai, who believed he was on some kind of holy mission, a vigilante cleaning the streets. Then there's Mohammed Bija, a straight-up predator who went after the most vulnerable people imaginable, children. And the Khorramdin case, wow. That one revealed a shocking darkness right inside a family, where the idea of honor was twisted into a reason to kill their own children.
Okay, so after all this horror, it brings up a really big question, and I bet it's on your mind too. Why are we so drawn to these stories? I mean, why are true crime shows and books massive bestsellers? What's that all about?
Well, the analyses we're looking at suggests it's not just some morbid curiosity. It's not unhealthy. It's actually tied to something much deeper, one of our most primal survival instincts. Just think about it from an evolutionary standpoint for a second. To survive out in the wild, our ancestors had to pay attention to threats. They needed to understand how the predator hunts so they wouldn't become the prey. It's the same idea here. By studying these killers, our brains are subconsciously taking notes, learning their tactics, their weaknesses, all so we can figure out how to avoid them.
It's basically a mental rehearsal, right? When we hear about a situation, we can't help but put ourselves in it. We think, okay, what would I do? I wouldn't have made that mistake. Or, wow, that was a clever way to escape. I'll remember that. Our brain is running these little threat simulations, all from the safety of our couch. And this is exactly what things like escape rooms are tapping into. They put you in this simulated high-stakes scenario. You're under pressure, you have to find clues, you have to stay calm and solve puzzles to escape the killer. They've taken our most basic survival instinct and turned it into a game. It's brilliant, really.
And that really leaves us with a final pretty deep thought, doesn't it? Maybe your fascination isn't just about the monster. Maybe it's about us. It's about the potential survivor, maybe even the hero inside all of us. It makes us think not just about the darkness out there, but also about the strength and the cleverness and that powerful will to survive that we all have inside. Something to think about. Thanks for joining us.